Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're going to do another episode of Donut Shop Podcast remotely over the internet. This has been kind of fun. And so today's guest is Greg Grogan from the Overwatch Collective. Got him on. We're linking up, and I'm going to talk about Overwatch Collective and then also his career in law enforcement and in the military as well. So welcome on, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Justin, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Looking forward to the episode.
Yeah. Hopefully we can, get the word out about the Overwatch Collective and kind of explain to people what it is and sort of, push them over to your social media so they can check it out too. And then you have a podcast too that you do, right?
Yeah, not as fancy as this. Like I said, it's via Zoom, and I don't know how to edit at all. But yes.
Oh, I mean, Zoom's not bad, but I know there are some pitfalls. So this
hmm
StreamYard stuff, you pay a little bit of money annually for it, but it has some good benefits to it. So you and I had a little bit of troubleshooting issues at the beginning, but we got it figured out. So before we get into the Overwatch Collective, kind of, I know through your Instagram that you recently, left your local police department that you were working for. Tell me a little bit about that and how that kind of works out, and then how that sort of works out with the military career, and some of maybe the struggles that guys and girls work through with that, because you kind of attached to two different families, or three different families, in what you do.
Yeah, so I was with Daly City Police Department for 10 years. Started there when I was 21 and just resigned as of December 18th, actually. Um, and let's see. So never thought I was going to be leaving that place. I thought I was going to be a lifer where I was going to do 30 years there and promote through the ranks.
Yeah.
Same thing with my military unit. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18. I was there for 7.5 years at a reserve unit in the Bay Area. Uh, and then when I was done with that contract after our deployment, I took a year off and then I joined the Coast Guard. So I went from the Marine Corps to the Coast Guard, which was quite the adjustment, but it's
Yeah.
the most laid back thing in the world. I love it. So
Vastly different, I'm sure.
oh, vastly different, but yeah, just a lot easier on the body. And I mean, you get paid the same amount and same benefits for not doing as much work, and you get taken care of. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I did 4 years at a unit there in San Francisco, and then fell in love with a girl from the South, got engaged, and then now I'm picking up and moving to Louisiana.
So South, you mean like actual recognizable South, or South California?
Oh no, like South, like the state of Louisiana, like in the South. So I'm
Nice.
going,
All right.
yeah. So yep. So we're
Real
going there.
South. Nice.
hmm
Do you have any prospects as far as like a law enforcement career over there, or you're just kind of?
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, kind of par for the course with me of like being so busy, like with military, police talk, and then like normal life. Um, we're driving across the country. So now we're in Southern California for the holidays. After the holidays, we actually drive from Southern California to Louisiana, which takes 3 days. And then I get 3 days off, and then I start at the local police department there. So just right into it.
Cool. Do you have to do any kind of or have you done any kind of like bridging, or like to be able to transfer? Because I know for Florida we had a guy who I used to work with that came from
hmm
Colorado, so he had to do like an
Yeah.
abridged an academy just to get to some of our craziness of Florida versus
hmm
Colorado.
Yeah, and this is where I kind of learned that like California Post, like the peace officer standard in training, is kind of like a golden ticket, right? Like Willy
Oh,
Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Because California, we do a lot of training. We get really good training, which I kind of just learned. Um, so when I was like, hey, I have an intermediate post in the state of California, I've been on there for 10 years, they were like, oh, this process is going to be easy. So I have to do 1 week at their police academy, and that's just to learn their state statutes and then take their post test. And then other than that, it's a month of in-house training at their department before I go into field training.
Okay. All right. And then, yeah. And then as a 10-year guy, that should, you should probably breeze through that. The only thing is going to be potentially a different language that you might speak on the radios. And,
Yeah.
and then, like you said, state laws are going to be different, between California and Louisiana, but that's cool. And it's something that, people don't understand, or, people trying to get into the career may not understand that you've got to do some things, but of course the job for the most part is going to be the same wherever you
Hmm.
are. The only problem is for those of us that are trying to maintain like one pension. Sometimes you're cutting that short. You're extending your career by moving somewhere else. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. And it's the exact same thing isn't for everybody. For me, I'm lucky. I started when I was 23. I'll be 43 next year, and I can close it out in 11 and a half months. So I just started my 20th year. So I'm kind of like that. So I'll be able to start a full new career,
Hmm.
totally different in like a year, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, that's
Exciting.
awesome. Congrats. And that's so nice to have that in your back pocket too, is to know that you could just be like, all right, I'm done. So like if shit gets cheeky or you start to like really be over it, you can be like, oh, here, let me pull out this card from my back pocket and I'm done and off to something else.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's everybody's got different scenarios and different life challenges. And that's what I try to remind a lot of the guys I work with that are all like, wow, you
Hmm.
stick around and do the drop. You should do this. You should do that. Like everybody wants to give you advice and I take it and listen to it, but I know how I have to apply it. And that's, always what I explain to other people is like, you gotta listen to everything you learn and then figure out how you can apply it to yourself.
Hmm.
And it's important. So, but that's awesome that you're able to pull that training from California and
Yeah.
not have to like, nah, no, that's garbage. We're gonna need you to start over from scratch here. So you got a little bit of
Hmm.
a head start, um,
Hmm.
to make it a comfortable landing, and then
Yeah.
and then you'll carry on with the Coast Guard time over there in Louisiana.
Yeah, yeah. So I switched from so I'm with the port security units in the Coast Guard. So I'm going from port security unit 312 in San Francisco to port security unit 308 in it's I think it's Kiln, Missouri or Mississippi. But yeah, it's going to be like a 2.5 hour drive from Louisiana, but I get a 90-day adjustment period. So I didn't have drill in December, and then I don't think I have to go there until like March or April, which is nice. So it kind of gives me a break in the middle of my contract. Um,
Hmm.
so, but yeah, I'll still be doing that 1 week in a month. Um, and then the police on top of it. So kind of just do the same thing that I was doing in California, but transfer out to Louisiana and then take some of the things that I've learned with signing up for all these collateral assignments and saying yes to everything, and then actually
Yeah.
saying no to some things and limiting myself.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're not going to sign up for everything you can sign up for, and you'll just kind of, pick and choose and be a little more choosy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's that usually work with your law enforcement career? Like when it's like, all right, this is your week of drill or your weekend of drill, and you said you got a 2 hour drive to
Hmm.
get to station.
Hmm.
So what do you do during that time when you go over to station? So I mean, you can use obviously San Francisco versus not necessarily knowing exactly how it works where you're going.
Yeah, and that's where, and like we were talking before we started recording, a lot of the time our first responders who are also service members, you're like, hey, I'm going on active duty orders for X amount, and yes, I still get paid from the police department or fire department for 30 working days out of the year, et cetera, right? And there's all these benefits and perks, and all the guys are like, oh, like Grogan's never here, he's on active duty orders, or he's missing this, but he's still getting paid. Um,
Yeah.
those are some of the perks. Yeah, there are some perks to it, definitely. But like for me, when I was working for Daly City Police in California, I was working Monday to Thursday, 1 p.m. to 11 p.m.,
Oh,
which was
nice.
a
Like a nice
great
Charlie
schedule.
shift.
Oh,
Yeah,
which was a great schedule. I loved it because you have every Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
of
But
course. Yeah, yeah.
my drills were Friday, Saturday, Sunday once a month. So I know like cops aren't the brightest tools in the shed here, but that means you're working Monday to Thursday, police, then military Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then police Monday to Thursday. So you're essentially working 11 days in a row.
Yeah.
And then we adjusted our SWAT training to the last Friday of every month. So then it was 12 days in a row. And we essentially changed our SWAT trainings because I was I always had military the same weekend and wasn't able to attend them all the time. And if you miss 3, then you're not operational. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, here's my schedule for the whole year. We have to change the training. So, um, and then you tack on all the other collateral duties I was involved in, which is, I mean, that goes into like the mental health, taking care of yourself, but also not wanting to disappoint people where you say yes to pretty much everything and
Yeah.
you want to do the most. So, I'd have motor training on Wednesdays in the morning from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then roll straight into patrol shift until 11 p.m. Drone training, honor guard training, or we'd have to do something for the range. So we'd have to qualify some people or do a retiree qual. Um, yeah, so it ultimately became way too much, but um, so that's how it was there. So I don't know how it'll be in Louisiana. I'm sure I'll have to take a day off before or in the back end to be able to go to drill, but
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how they'll do things. So we'll see.
How big was Daly City, or is Daly City? Because that's a lot of units to be a part of.
Yeah, yeah, and it's smaller, definitely compared to like where I'm going now in Louisiana, which is why you have to have so many more officers take on so many collaterals.
Hmm.
Um, we had about, I'd say, like 90 sworn.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to have those kind of like you said, collateral or auxiliary type units, because
Hmm.
like me for a period of time, or I've been on honor guard since I started, but I was like when I was on patrol, I was a negotiator, I was mobile field force, so yeah, and
Hmm.
we have about 200,
Okay.
but it's just I like you. I never said no, and it was always just
Yeah.
jump on it, and that's
Hmm.
and that's kind of what I preach to the new guys when they kind of ask me if I have any advice, and I always just say like, dude, don't say no to any of these units. Like if it comes open, put in for it. Like it's police work. You're
Hmm.
most likely going to enjoy it. It's not You're not cleaning bathrooms or whatever. So like, go out
Yeah.
there, get onto it, and
Hmm.
then people will get to know you versus what you're doing now, just pushing a car and answering calls on the radio. No, people aren't learning who you are.
Hmm.
So and it worked out for me. But yeah, so yeah, and in turn with what you're saying, that it definitely can pull on the mental health and kind of beat you up,
Hmm.
because you're jockeying all these units and the different trainings, and then it's pulling away from one to go to the
Yeah.
other, and if you obviously care about the job, it causes stress, and it's not cool, because I know what you're saying when you say that it can kind of pull you in different directions. So
Yeah, and I think that's great advice. And I've talked about this on a recent podcast I was on too, where it's great advice to be like, say yes, like get involved in it, everything. But in a few years, or if you're involved in quite a few, like have the self-awareness to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, I'm involved in uh let's see, I'm in the traffic unit, I'm on SWAT, I'm on honor guard and range instructor maybe. Be like, hey, like I really enjoy, like for me it was SWAT and motors. Those were my two where I was like, I love being on a motorcycle. I love SWAT, always like even on patrol, kind of taking over all the tactics on calls for service. Um, and then you get to ride a motorcycle. Like, pay me to ride a
yeah,
motorcycle, sick. Like, I love it. Um, so like, if I were to go back in time, I'd probably do honor guard for a few years and then resign and be like, hey, I'm just going to put all my focus in on SWAT and motors. But when you get people who are in 6 or 7 collaterals and you stay in them and you never leave, then it's like you're trying to give time and energy into all these, and then you can't solely focus on one. And then also it takes up time for yourself, right? And that's where you really
Hmm.
become like too involved in the job, right? Where it's like, oh, the job becomes your identity. Like it is 100% true, but you can try to mitigate that a little bit, in my opinion, if you're aware of how much energy you're putting into it. So that would be my kind of advice, and that's what I've told people is like say yes everything, but in a few years, kind of like sit back and reevaluate and be like, wow, I'm in 5 specialty assignments or 5 collaterals. Like, is this sustainable? And do I have a lot of off time outside of work where I can enjoy and like spend time with my family, friends, or just like relax and hang out? Um, so that would be my advice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, there's got to be a good balance to it and a better balance so that you're not wearing yourself out
Mm-hmm.
and stressing yourself out. That's what there was. I got moved, I got moved to, or I mean, I took a position in the community resource and public information, and the lieutenant that was in charge of the command vehicle and crisis negotiators, he was the office right outside of my cubicle. So it's like whenever something needed to be done with the command vehicle, it wasn't, I'm going to call everybody else and see if anybody else is
Mm-hmm.
available. It's, I see you, you're sitting right there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, why you got me on a scene with the command vehicle when I'm also a public information officer and I need to be doing that? But then as a command vehicle driver, so for anybody that doesn't know, it's like the giant RVs and stuff, there's technical issues that detectives
Mm-hmm.
want Wi-Fi, or why isn't the TV working for this, or I
Yeah.
need whatever, they need this stuff. And if I'm out there trying to talk to the media as well or gather
Uh-huh.
information for how we're going to share the information, I don't need somebody calling me back to the bus to there's enough people around
Yeah.
to share the wealth too. So I jumped off of that quick because I was like, I don't need to get pulled every different direction, when it's especially the same event. So it'd be like the same thing as if you were a SWAT operator, but then you're also a public information officer. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just can't do those two jobs at the
Yeah.
same time. So you have to pick and decide which one was like a stepping stone to get you somewhere or get you the training that you wanted to learn about and make you better as an officer and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for sure. Good advice. Let me drop a commercial in here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Which one do we want to go with? Let's go this way. Hey guys, I'm sure that there's many of us that are aging and we've thought about hormone replacement therapy. I visited my doctors and discussed it, and I'm still kind of on the fence and not really sure what I want to do. But now I think I've kind of found it, and I know that we could all use a boost of testosterone in our life. Well, check out the best in the game, Human Performance Team. It connects you with doctors via telehealth, and you could submit your labs that you've maybe already done, or you can get fresh ones done. They offer a variety of services like primary care, urgent care, weight loss, and even mental health. We all know that these jobs weigh on us and our mental health. Jump over to hptrt.com and use the code DSP for a continuous discount. Use the code DSP and get on a road to better health.
So that's why I built InkMD, to address a niche, a very real need for medical grade wound care for real wounds. Tattoos are real wounds. I don't understand why we continue to treat them differently. There's just nobody's bridged that gap yet. We're talking about relatively superficial trauma to the skin. The quicker it heals, the better. Especially with tattoos, because the amount of ink that's retained in your skin is dependent on that healing process. Real science, real medicine, with a very ancient and very personal art form.
Jump over inkmd.com and use DSP15 when you want to make a purchase. All right, we're back. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about the Overwatch Collective and kind of what you've created, and and then where that's going and how you're bringing it with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. It's cool to be able to come on here and talk about it. I'll start off with saying I never knew it would get to this point where it's at, which is really cool. So back in June of 2021, my buddy Jesse Coulter and I started a podcast, and we had no idea what we were doing, right? Like it was I didn't listen to Joe Rogan. I didn't listen to all these podcasts, right? I was just like so
Yeah.
busy. And so quick background on Jesse. He was in the Marine Corps. He was infantry for 4 years, did a deployment overseas, and now he's also in the Coast Guard. No law enforcement experience where I have the law enforcement experience side. Um, Not to knock on him at all, but it comes into play later how we know this community really well. Um, so we've unfortunately lost friends to suicide, which is common amongst our first responder and military community.
Yeah.
And one day, randomly, he was like, "Hey, let's start a podcast." And I was like, "I don't even know where to start with that, but sure, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
send it." And we were like trying to figure out what we were going to talk about. And originally, we were going to call it Field Talk, and we were going to talk about the stuff that you do in the military, in the field. And then we somehow got into mental health and how we've both lost friends to suicide, know the stigma in both the first responder and military community, and how that's affecting our community negatively and losing members by suicide. So we started a podcast where we were talking about basically the shit that nobody wanted to talk about, where it's the stigma, the culture, the lack of resources, the shit talking, calling people weak or a bitch if you go seek help, the lack of confidentiality in our peer support teams, our EAPs, the wait
Yeah.
time in the military to go to the VA to see a therapist is 6 months. That's unacceptable. Um, so we started to have people on the podcast from all professions within the first responder community and then also in the military, and it really took traction, and people were like, "Hey, this is great, like nobody's really talking about this right now." And people started donating, and we were like, "Okay, cool, like great, we appreciate it." So um, with the amount that we raised, we turned it into a 501c3 nonprofit organization with the intent to fund therapy sessions for our community. So we quickly came up with a process where we'd be like, "Hey, let's go nationwide. So let's figure out how we can create a smooth and confidential process for our community to go to therapy with culturally competent, vetted therapists, and they can get connected to them without going through the fire department, police department, or their chain of command in the military. They can do that all through us, and then we can help fund those therapy sessions because it would be outside of insurance at that point."
Yeah.
So thankfully, it took a lot of work, but that's kind of where we're at now, which is cool.
That's awesome. And you triggered a thought when you were talking about the VA and stuff. I have a VA clinic, an outpatient clinic in my city, and I tell you, one scenario is super frustrating. A gentleman that works for Homeland Security was there. He's also a veteran, but so he was there to speak to a doctor or speak to a therapist about, just anything, thoughts that he was having, stuff like that. And then immediately they ask him I think somebody referred to it as the 2 questions or the 3 questions. And they called us and said, we're Baker acting him, send him off to the hospital. And it was
Mm,
like, dude, this guy's an active current law enforcement officer, a veteran. And
yeah.
he went to you to talk to you about life. He was, I believe he was, global war on terror type stuff. So he's been over and he's dealt with that. But in the problem for me, and I mean, I'm going to speak real, it's a podcast. The thing that we know with law enforcement is we all have at least one gun sitting right there. It's available. So if this guy really truly thought about it, he could have done it.
Hmm.
So he's coming to talk to somebody, and it doesn't mean he needs to go then get run off to another hospital. He's there with you. And so I got a complaint from the VA police captain or the VA police lieutenant that was there, just because I was really kind of a dick. Like, I was frustrated. I was like, look at this guy, he's here. Like, so, and then unfortunately, of course, because that's my policy, I got to put cuffs on him in his back and everything, put him in the car. And I'm like, dude, the guy's got a badge in his wallet, and I'm frustrated for him. And so, I just had some, bro talk with him kind of stuff, just, of course, like, for what I could, but he wasn't even in crisis. He just wanted to talk. And and I don't think they did him a service through what they were what I felt they should be offering. I could be misinformed, but I did not like the scenario that I dealt with that day, taking him to the hospital. Or taking him to, just a civilian hospital. Not that he's not a civilian now, but
that's super frustrating, because like, and there's a negative thought process about the VA. Every veteran knows, like, hey, the VA, they lose your paperwork, or it's going to take X amount of months. But if that's your only resource as a veteran, like, and it could be, hey, you've been in a combat zone and you've lost friends in combat and you are seriously messed up, or it could be like military sexual trauma is super common in the military, which doesn't really get enough attention. It could be, hey, I'm finally getting triggered by some MST, so now I'm going to go and talk. Like, but that's your place to go get resources. And a part of the reason why we're seeing so many suicides in our military community is because of stories like that, where that dude is going to tell all his veteran friends, be like, hey, I went to the VA and they placed me on a psychiatric hold. Now they took all my guns. Now I can't do my civilian job because I can't carry a firearm. Now my life is really screwed, when I was just trying to tell this therapist, like, hey, I'm having some suicidal ideations, etc. And then they placed me on a fucking hold. Like, so that's what we try to avoid. And the nice thing about us is that Jesse and I, we both have the military experience. We both deployed overseas before. We've never been in combat, but we've been in relationships overseas. We've been away from family. We've been away during holiday seasons. And then I have the first responder side, where I've seen suicides. I've seen gunshot wounds to the head. I've seen everything that you can see as a police officer. We all have, which sucks that you shouldn't have to see. And then we've both lost friends to suicide. So it's like, okay, let's take all of our shitty experiences, but then create an organization where it's like, it's founded and based off of those shitty experiences to hopefully have less of those experiences for our community now.
To make sure that, if you can help 1, 2, 3, and you guys have helped way more than that, but if you can help change the stigma, not change it, because the stigma is always going to be there, but make it easier for somebody to find the resources, so that they can see the stigma and just be like, all right, I'm going to go gather my resources this way. And the VA is not my only option, or going through an EAP with the department or the city is not my only option. Or, as you said before, talking to a peer support group that you don't necessarily trust, because maybe some of them might be gossips, is not the option. You're giving them a completely other option that is there, and that is vetted by people that have lived through it, and that could be in the same shoes. So it's more important to have that kind of thing, I think, than just some faceless company or whatever that you just search through Google and find, and hope that it's not just somebody trying to make a buck. So
because it's like your life on the line, right? And now that example that you just used, that veteran who goes to therapy and through the VA and then gets placed on a psych hold, like, that's a big life-changing incident for that person, right? And I think a part of the reason why we have so many people that are so hesitant about going to therapy, and so many people that are like, nah, fuck that, like, I ain't going, is because we don't talk about what therapy actually looks like enough, so that we all have a good understanding of it. Like you don't understand at what point the therapist on the other side of the Zoom or on the couch next to you is actually supposed to be like, okay, we need to call somebody now. It's like, do you have suicidal ideations with a plan attached to it? Is somebody else in danger like Justin? Are you going to go home and actually like hurt your husband or your wife? Okay, now I need to report this. But suicidal ideations, like you can go into therapy and you could talk about all of this stuff, but like if you have suicidal ideations in a plan, that's what triggers like a response. And I think if we talk about that more so our community knows like, hey, this is kind of the threshold, then more people would go. But then also, like this is the threshold so that if you actually, like, if I were to go in and be like, suicidal ideations, this is my plan and this is when I'm going to do it, then it's also like, I know that my therapist then has to do something. So it's almost like a cry for help at that point, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. You're basically, if informed, like, hey,
Yeah.
if you're going to do that stuff, but there's a part of you still that really would like some help, like you said, a cry
Mhm.
for help, that you going there and kind of explaining it, like, look, I need to talk to you a little bit
Mhm.
about some of this stuff, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to hit those benchmarks
Yeah.
that you're listening for, or those red flags. I understand that this is what's going to happen, but I want to figure out how you can help me cope, adjust,
Mhm.
work through it as well. I don't want to just, be shipped off and assigned to a whole nother person,
Yeah.
like, uh, and that's there's definitely, some variations to that. There's that person, like I just demonstrated, like here saying that, and then there's the person that that has gone beyond that and does take their life,
Mhm.
and that we end up seeing, and we hope that whatever struggle they were fighting, that it was worth the decision that they made. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and I've had, we've had those kind of questions for us too in my department, because we lost a really good girl that it just it tore us up, and it was very, very odd. She was one of my partners on crisis negotiations, so it was one of those, like,
Mm.
like, I know what I use when my wife would tell me, you're negotiating me. Like, she could start to feel like, if we were in an argument or whatever, a fight with my wife, like, my wife would be like, yeah, you're pulling out your tricks. um so, and you don't realize that all of us, no matter how strong we look or whatever, that there's other things that we're dealing with. So
Mhm.
um I guess we're kind of getting into the deep waters of that. We're talking about not totally diving into it, but it's sometimes stuff people need to hear.
Yeah, it is. And like for us, we go to work and you throw on the vest and you put your uniform on and you're supposed to be the helper, right? You're supposed to show up to
Yeah.
all these calls and everything and have all the answers. You're supposed to be respectful because you're representing the city of Daly City, for example, right?
Hmm.
Um, and and then your peers that are looking up to you, they're like, "Hey, I want to be like this sergeant or this person." But like, what if you're having a traumatic experience or a reaction to a type of call for service? Like, you can't be like, "Ooh, I need 5 minutes, guys." Like, this is triggering something from my childhood. No, nobody says that shit, right? Like, nobody
Yeah.
ever says that. So you kind of just like suppress it and you put on a mask and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna get through this call. Nope, I'm good. I'm fine." How many times have you heard that? "Hey, are you good?" "I'm good."
Yeah.
I guarantee you half those times people are actually not good, but they're just gonna say it um, because they don't want to bring up the issue. They don't want to get pulled into an office to talk. And then it's like a lot of people will be like, "Hey, after that call, take a moment to close your eyes and decompress." And like for me, you would clear a call like that and you'd be like, "Yo, I got to go across the town to a fucking shoplifting of
Yeah. Yeah.
three
Yeah.
people and cussing." I'm like, I ain't got time to sit there at park and decompress. So, um, and that's why it's so important for our community to have uh, first responders or service members that are doing all of this work that completely understand the job and get it, right? Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I do. You say that, and I notice with what you're saying, some of the things that I've been doing. Because I've only been back on the road for a year. I was in an office doing the public information stuff. So I've been back on the road for a year, and we don't see our supervisors, like ours aren't out showing up. Like we're the senior guys, like 20
mhm,
years to 26 years. Like we don't need supervisors on the road and all that kind of stuff. But it's important because we do still have some of these probies that are coming through that are in there to learn from us, that when I start to see them, they're all right, dude, you're getting hammered today, like with calls, you've got a bunch of reports, like that weighs on people, especially early in your career when it's harder for you to multitask, or, you know that you can't let these reports stack up, because then you're going to start to forget stuff, all that kind of stuff. Or even if calls are compounding, like you said, you got one kind of traumatic call, then you go to some BS call, and then you
mhm,
you listen to somebody that you just want to yell at them and be like, this is not a law enforcement matter. That I try to make sure, not that I'm perfect, but to single them out and, hey, come here, like, dude, I got your calls for the next like half hour or hour. Like, go get a coffee,
mhm,
go sit at the station, go into the gym if you want to, like, just go sit in your car for a little while. And
mhm,
they've listened to me and like, oh, all right. And I was even asking, or I even saw one of my buddies that I work with almost every day. And I could tell he was frustrated. And just dragging down. And I was like, so you just made sure to ask him, like, it seems like the unmanly thing or whatever, but I'm not shy to just say, like, dude, what's up? Like, you don't seem right, because
mhm.
I know I've been there. Like, I know I've
Yep.
been there a lot. And it's important for people without an agenda to ask you, dude, what's up?
Mhm.
Like truly talk to me and truly listen. So it's important for all of us in these careers, law enforcement, fire, first respond, nursing,
Yeah,
veterans, like all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff, to because the nurses see some shit too. So to ask each other.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. And you mentioned ER nurses. That's why we fund therapy and connect ER nurses to our therapists as well. We consider them first responders. Um, and with the buddy checks, I'll just add something that I've seen and heard a lot of is that's great that you do that, and I do the same thing. And if you're listening to this, just try to imagine like you have a buddy who you recognize that's not the same. Be
Hmm.
very intentional on the time that you ask him or her. Be like, hey, are you doing okay? Are you doing good? Like, is there something you want to talk about? Because if you ask as you're walking to your patrol cars, going to a separate call for service, like there's not that much time, and it's so easy just to say, yep, I'm good, get in your car and deuces. And you may only have one chance to get like a genuine response. Um, so I think it's important, and I've seen it before in the past. Like it's very important to be intentional when you ask somebody, like, "Hey, are you actually doing okay?" Because I've seen X, Y, and Z in you, which is different, and I'm concerned about you, or I'm worried about you. I just want to make sure you're doing good because I care about you. Um, and ensuring that it's not just in passing in the department, because how many times do we do it where we walk by each other and you're like, "Yo, what's up, Justin? Hey, how you doing, Greg? I'm good. All right, cool. I'm good too." And you're out. And then,
Right. Right.
you
Because like
know,
what you're saying is like, and I think it goes with anybody, but I can use it for my career or this career, is
mhm,
that you can easily mask it or hide it with,
yeah,
got to go on to the next call. Yeah. Got to
mhm,
keep on trucking. Like, I'm just going
mhm,
to keep pushing it down, and I'm going to hide it inside, and go on to the next call. Like the people need us. I'm standing up. I got 3 calls holding in the zone, and I'm going to knock them out.
yeah, yeah,
I gotta go.
yeah,
So yeah, it's that coffee break, it's that lunch break. When you can go
mhm,
sit with somebody, or the city quiets down, and you can actually pull up under a tree
mhm,
and truly talk shit and like get
yeah,
down to it.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, super super important. All right, I'm going to drop one more commercial, and then let's kind of talk about. Let's do some numbers. Like, I'm looking at the website and stuff.
yeah.
um, you know, sort of, let's hear some quantity. And I'll be right back. Brand new
We,
Donut Shop podcast hats. Excited to bring them to you. Very excited for the work that went into them. They're super cool. They have this PVC patch on the front, stitched on, Donut Shop Podcast logo, a nice blue line snapback. It's got this laser mesh on the outside. Comes in black. Sweet baseball cap. You can wear it flat bill, curved, whatever you want to do. Oh, and the inside is nice and soft for those sweaty Florida days or wherever you are. You can get these hats. I'll ship them out, $35 shipped. Just hit me up in the DMs. Let me know. If you're international, we can work something out on shipments. I also have these patches in just the patch with a Velcro back. So those are $12 shipped. Thank you very much, everybody, for the support. Real excited to see these hats out in the wild. See you later. All right, we're back. So yeah, like, so I know that there's a lot to what you guys do. What you guys do with it, and people can donate either through your website, or you have like specific campaigns for like specific stuff.
Yeah, so the easiest is just to go to the website and you click on the donate button. We do have a GoFundMe, we have PayPal, we have Venmo, all the options that everybody else in the world has. But for the month of December, we're doing a gift of therapy session for a first responder or veteran. So if you go to the website for the first time each day you go, it'll pop up and it'll say like gift of therapy session for this season. And that's where you can go on and you can click 1 to 5 therapy sessions that you can pay for. And then you can type in a comment, be like, hey, I want to donate 3 therapy sessions to the next police officer in honor of my husband who died by suicide and was with California Highway Patrol, for example. That's something that happened.
Wow.
And our average cost for therapy across the country, we figured out all the numbers. It's like $125 for a 50-minute therapy session. So that's kind of something cool that we're
50?
doing.
Like 50?
125.
No, like how long would be the session?
Oh, 50-minute session. Usually
okay,
they
cool.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. No, I mean, that's cool. And then so people, and then that's people that reach out to you guys to talk to you, and then, hey, we have this bank to work from, and
Correct.
maybe this is somebody that's associated with it, so somebody could write even a thank you card, or shoot them a message or something like that, and kind of connect, and just cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an awesome way to do that. What other, like, so I'm just seeing, like 260, it says like first responders, military, financially assisted through therapy. So that's like current numbers of individuals that have been affected through your organization.
Yeah, so that's since August of 2022. So now, in our process, and I think it's really important for this community to understand, like you could see 260 people have been connected to our therapist through the Overwatch Collective. Yes. However, we have not broken confidentiality one time throughout those 260 people. So obviously we talk about the importance of maintaining confidentiality amongst our community.
Yeah.
Well, we're super proud to say that our process that's created by first responders and service members, it works, right? So like we have not broken confidentiality once. We get people connected to our vetted therapists who are vetted by us in our process through our board of directors in a matter of days. Our quickest connection was, it was a few months ago. We had a veteran reach out to us. It took 2 hours for us to get that person connected to a therapist and on the phone scheduling a therapy session for the next day.
Wow.
So, and granted, it's not always 2 hours. Sometimes it takes 3 days. Sometimes it takes 5 days, but we help fund the therapy sessions. We assure that that person is vetted, they're culturally competent, which means that they're not going to be like, oh shit, Justin, that's what you see at work? Like, ooh. And then you see the therapist reaction and you're like, oh, about face, I'm out. I ain't doing this.
Right. Okay. So they're knowledgeable about, so they
Correct.
know the careers or the fields. You're not just pulling them out of a jar, like,
No, Nope. And in
Wow.
our community, we cannot have that. We cannot have first responders and service members bottling up all of the stuff that we see, all this cumulative stress. That's where CPTSD comes from. Cumulative post-traumatic stress is we talk about all these calls for service that we go on over a 20-year career for you or 10 for me,
Hmm.
where you bottle all this stuff up, right? You like a lot of
Yeah.
people say like rocks in a backpack, rocks in a rucksack,
Mhm.
whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. But and then you tack on, hey, you're in the military and you're a police officer. Wow, that's double. And then we don't even think about childhood trauma that comes later on in life. But um, it's very difficult for us to say, hey, like in a critical incident debrief, hey, yep, Greg here. Yes, after that call, like I would love to go see a therapist in a room of the police officers, firefighters, the coroner that's there, the dispatchers that are there, the lieutenant who is the watch command. Like nobody's going to do that shit, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it.
Everybody
So
just wants
for
to get back to work or whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. So for us, we're well aware of that stigma and everything. So we make it super easy for people in our community to get in touch with therapists quickly, confidentially, and then we fund the therapy sessions and we help them out financially.
What I mean, what if somebody didn't need the financial assistance but wanted the assistance just with referrals or locating somebody a little bit better? Because, like it's not a current crisis that I'm going
Mm-hmm.
through, but I'm you know, I feel like I could use some help or whatever. And you guys work with that kind of stuff too, where you can kind of refer people and it's like, look, man, I make money. I know I don't need to use I can't
Mm-hmm.
use my insurance maybe, but
Yeah. Yeah.
like I can go out of pocket and I can fund myself. They
Yeah,
can do
good
that.
question. Yeah, good question. And yes, they can, and that has happened a lot. So these 260 people are just the ones that have reached out to us, and then we've funded to go to therapy. I don't think we've actually tracked how many people have reached out to us, and then we've connected them to our therapist, but they're like, hey, I can afford this. I want
Mhm.
the money that you guys are working hard to raise to go to people that are kind of struggling financially, which is really
Totally.
cool. It's
Yeah.
really cool in our community to have people like that, where it's like, hey, I'm in Nevada. Do you have any therapists that you recommend? But like, I don't want to fill out this whole form and I don't need financial assistance. And then we send our Nevada therapist, and here she's like, cool, thank you, emailing now. So that's another connection to a culturally competent therapist through the Overwatch Collective, but it's not in our statistics that we say like,
Yeah.
oh, we spent X amount. So that happens quite often, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really cool. And we know that in briefing rooms, in substations, in parking lots, that's a lot of what we do is share references
Hmm.
for contractors, plumbers,
Hmm.
tile guys, whatever. We share that kind of information. So it's a good platform for that kind of thing for you guys, to be able to share that for a sensitive subject that somebody may be closeted about or
Yeah.
quiet about, sitting in that parking lot, not, hey guys, what's up, anybody got a
Yeah.
therapist there, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I've been real having a tough time with my family, and I'm a
Uh-huh.
little down in the dumps about my debt. You have anybody you've ever talked to before? Like, it doesn't really happen over cigars and patrol cars,
No. No.
and
But
donuts.
yeah, yeah, and donut, yeah. But if you think about it, right, and I think we're progressing in our community across the country and actually normalizing that. I think we're doing that. But imagine if you had a list of resources or you had an app or the department put out information or on the bulletin board instead of changing a new state law or a new penal code or vehicle code. It was like, hey, we're updating our list of resources, not only for you, but for your family, your spouses, your significant others, your children, where it could be plastered on the wall and be like, hey, here's a new therapist that our peer support team just found. This is his or her information. Boom, scan a QR code to find out more information.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah, I
so
mean,
many
I think
ways.
our unions kind of tried to spearhead a little bit of that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
those are some local organizations that try to, they're doing a lot of different things, trying to benefit us, not just contractually within the city and funding and stuff. They're trying to,
Hmm.
you know, look at this aspect and be part of that as well, and recognize that those things are important to their members as well. So that's, you know, that's a good thing. It's not just holding drinking sessions or you know, meetups at the bars or whatever.
Yep.
You know, offering guys this kind of stuff, because like ours recently offered you know, just a different insurance, because we've got our, you know, our normal city insurance, and then we've got like Aflac that you can add into, or one of the
Yes.
guys found and has used, and it's another insurance that's a one of those supplemental insurances that
Hmm.
Aflac kind of brings you. He offered that to the union to say like, hey, I'm gonna bring in this rep that can
Yep.
talk to you about it, and he could say, hey, I've used this myself on a recent neck surgery, so it could be beneficial. So, you know, this is
Mhm.
another thing that people could bring in and offer, and just say, you know, fire and let it go, you know, and like, you
Yeah.
do with it as you will. Like, I'm putting the information out there, you do with it as you will. We're not documenting who's sent an email, who's looking at the QR code, who's reading this.
Hmm.
You know, you take it and run with it, with your information. So that's awesome. It's good stuff. um you guys have put out swag and stuff too, right? Does that kind of funds, you're wearing a hoodie, that kind of go back to it and sort of raise
Yeah.
awareness?
Yeah, and we actually haven't gotten new merchandise in a while, and with the move, like everything was at my house and it was all in my garage, and I was doing the podcast out of my garage and shipping all the merchandise out of my garage.
Yeah.
And now obviously since I'm moving, it's all going to my parents' house. So we gave a bunch of stuff away. We did reduced prices. We gave a lot of stuff away to fundraisers for like raffle items, all that.
Yeah.
Um, to try to consolidate as much as possible so I don't bombard my parents. But yes, all of our stuff it's up on the website. It's pretty cool stuff. We enjoy it. It's cool seeing people like from even from other countries buying the merchandise and rocking it. Like we have a dude
Yeah.
in Australia who wears it and loves it. Um, but yeah, a percentage of the proceeds, obviously, like everything else, right? Like your hats, your patches, they go back to, hey, we make $3 off of this, whatever, and it's all going back to
Right.
the um and we try not to overly price all of our stuff, and like hoodies $75. No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So we only make a few dollars off of certain items. But honestly, it's just cool to have all this stuff out there, and like you see a helicopter that says the Overwatch Collective on it out in public, and a lot of people are like, hey, I used to fly those, or hey, I know those, like the little birds, and oh,
Yeah.
what's that? And then you get to start talking about the Overwatch Collective, and it's like, hey, mental health nonprofit for first responders, veterans, reducing suicides. Google them. It's simple. You just remember the Overwatch Collective, and then that's one more person in the community that's aware of our resources. So,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's all that's the thing about merch in general, is just, it's really about getting the word out for whatever purpose or whatever organization that the merch is going through. I mean, it's the same thing with
mhm.
band tees. I love band tees, and it's all about creating a conversation where somebody's
Yep.
like, "Yo, I remember seeing that band when I was, you know, a
Yes.
senior in high
Yeah.
school," and then,
Hmm.
yeah, you know, what's up, dude? Like, you know, and then you can create connections with people and open their eyes. And some, like with bands, people will be like, oh yeah, they're still touring, dude, I just saw them last month, like
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
should look
Yeah.
them up, like, you know, like that kind of thing. So I'm always all about that, you know, randomly creating conversations through you know, little things that people see, you know, people talk to you all the time. So and that's part of the donut shop. Somebody just anybody could come into the donut shop, and people always want to talk to cops.
Mhm.
We were trying to get lunch the other day, and it's like, and it was one of those days, in the middle of ordering, I had to run out to a fight outside the high school because the kids were getting out of school early from testing, and then came
Mhm.
back, and I'm like, is my food ready yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and then meanwhile, this one lady was sitting at our table, and I'm like, oh god, we're gonna have to sit here and listen to all of her woes about, she was complaining about Verizon or something like that. And I made the joke, I'm like, oh yeah, do you need me to be customer service for the world for you?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
ultimately, like, I still got to eat my food, and I got to laugh a little bit, and, you know, eventually she wandered off, and, you know, it was one of those days. I in the middle of ordering, I had to run out to a fight outside the high school because the kids were getting out of school early from testing, and then came back, and I'm like, is my food ready yet?
Yeah.
Um, we were able to get to our chicken tenders. But
Yeah,
you
perfect.
know, it's everybody wants to talk to us, and sometimes it's important when people want to talk to us and stuff. Some cool merchandise. So and since it is in the move or on the move, people can still order it. And
Yep. Everybody can still order it.
Cool.
And then that's it. Everybody can still
Awesome.
order it. So my mom's actually on the board of directors, and she's going to be taking over the merchandise and the shipping. So I'm gonna have to walk her through all of that. But
merch director,
yeah. So, but yeah, everybody can go on still order. And then if anybody that's listening has like a fundraising event or anything and needs like raffle items and all that stuff, we're super supportive. We'll send out a shirty. Wow, I just combined shirt and hoodie. We'll send out a hoodie and a shirt, a challenge coin, anything that we could do to help support.
Cool. Yeah. No, I'll definitely let my buddy, who has his own organization as well, but he's probably always looking for stuff, with different tournaments and everything. So I'll send him your information, and you guys can get together on something, for sure. So pretty cool. All right. Well, we can start wrapping it up. Anything else you want to add? I dropped the website up there. So for anybody listening in audio land, the overwatchcollective.com is where you can find it. It's going to be down in all the descriptions wherever you're listening or watching the show. You can check it out. But anything else you want to add?
I appreciate it. I think the biggest thing for us is at the Overwatch Collective, our entire board of directors is either first responder, military, or spouse, significant other, mother of. So we're all directly in this community, and we know the impact that we have on our community in reducing the number of suicides. So any support that we can get whatsoever, if it's going to our Instagram and giving us a follow, our podcast that we don't edit, it's super raw. We don't have the greatest clips. We just care about the audio and the stories and the resources for our community. If you can go follow that. And then we do have our own app as well. So if you go to your app store for the Android users that ruin every single group text, and then the Apple users, if you just type in the Overwatch Collective, we have our own app. It's free to use. We have a bunch of resources on there, social media platform, audio rooms, and then you can
it's all on the website. So you just push them all directly to the website, I think, and then they can grab that almost easier than, all right, how do you spell like?
Yeah. So it's all on the website, and then if anybody across the country needs any assistance whatsoever with getting connected to a therapist or any other resources as well, we work with a bunch of other amazing nonprofits and companies, and that's why we call it like the collective, like it's a collective effort in this community to reduce the number of suicides. So we can always point you in the right direction. We have a bunch of resources and a bunch of people that are doing good work. So
hell yeah. I'll leave you with one question. So moving to Louisiana, what type of food are you looking forward to most in Louisiana?
So they have boudin over there, and it's
What is that?
So it's like it comes in like a sausage, like it almost looks like a sausage, but it's wrapped with rice and meat and all this amazing stuff. And it's just like, we brought a bunch out here, so everybody in Southern California now, all my family, we cook it up and we're like, here, try this, and they're all like, holy shit, this is good. Like, so all the food out there is amazing. And that's why I'm like, number one on the priority list is getting a gym member and getting my ass in that treadmill, because I'm probably going to gain 10 pounds the first few months just because of the amazing food. So
all right, it sounded almost like a sushi roll, but you're talking about like having rice but it's the food is awesome for sure. So and I can see what you're saying. So you're down with spice? Like, spice is okay, because I know sometimes things get pretty spicy.
It used to not be, but now the fiance's got me trying spicier stuff and getting used to that. So I don't really have a choice going out there. Things are pretty spicy. So
Yeah. You just got to move it. So, all right,
Mhm.
cool. Well, thank you very much. Stick around post show because this thing's got to upload. But thank you very much. The Overwatch Collective, Greg Grogan. Thank you very much, and good luck on the move and finishing up the move. And congratulations with everything you guys have achieved with the organization. So that's awesome. So, you should be very proud of it. So thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Justin. Appreciate you
All
having
right,
me on.
everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.